are Heather and Paul Christie.
And for over 12 years, we've worked with executives and entrepreneurs to accelerate change in every aspect of their business.
Because we are in the fastest paced business environment that anyone has ever seen before.
So join us for the Evolve to Win show. Hi, and welcome to another Evolve to Win show with Heather and Paul.
Good to have you with us today.
Hey, we're back. I'm back. I haven't been on for a while.
I know,
so
we've missed you.
I know, everyone's missed me,
Thanks
right?
for coming back. Opportunities are everywhere and they are right in front of your nose. And too many people have walked away from and missed opportunities because they're so busy seeking success outside of where they are. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I don't know if any of you have ever gotten to the place where you're feeling just a little bit, bored, or you're looking for something new. You're looking for maybe a new industry, a new career, a new job, a new something, a new anything, because what you have in the moment is just not doing it for you. You're not feeling as fulfilled maybe as you could feel. Have you ever felt that way, Paul?
Yeah, totally have.
Yeah. So what do we usually do when we feel that way? Usually we just up and move. We up and quit. We go somewhere else because it's new, it's better, it's different, right? And I think that we human beings tend to have this habit of seeking success somewhere out there. We see somebody successful. Oh, and they're successful because they're doing something else. I can't possibly do that in my career and be as successful, right?
Yeah.
So what we want to talk about today is actually goes back. It's a story that I heard. I don't know, the first time I think I read about it in Think and Grow Rich. Is that where we first found it? Acres of Diamonds?
No, I think we heard it from Earl Nightingale just on YouTube at one time, or I think we bought one of their programs.
Oh, Think and Grow Rich was 3 Feet from Gold.
Right.
That was the one.
Right.
So it's kind of like similar story. Okay. If you are a student of success, you've probably heard the Acres of Diamonds story, or you've heard Napoleon Hill talk about 3 feet from gold. And this is a concept that we're going to share with you, and then we're going to expand upon it. And we're going to tell you how we've actually found it within our businesses and maybe give a couple more examples. Good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. So the Acres of Diamonds story goes something like this, and I'm going to shorten it up a little bit, but I want you to get the point. It's kind of a cool story. So there was this guy by the name of Russell Cornwell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Conwell. Sorry, it's Conwell.
Yeah, that's it.
He's like, yeah, that's right.
I'll
Cornwell.
say yes to anything.
You might want to look him up, Russell Conwell. Anyway, he was an attorney, and he ultimately became a priest as well. And he's famous for having built a university way back when for students who didn't have the means to go to school. Well, the way that he did this is he traveled all over giving a sermon to raise money to build this school. And the sermon that he gave was the Acres of Diamonds story. And it was so wildly successful because people got so fired up about it. And it goes like this. There was a Persian farmer who was happily married, living his life, loved his farm. And one day this Buddhist priest shows up on site, and he started to tell him about how the world works. And he talked to him about these things called diamonds. Now, the farmer had no idea about diamonds. And the priest told him that essentially, if you have just a small amount of diamonds, you can buy multiple farms, or if with enough diamonds, you could buy an entire county. So he's really filling him with this vision for what it could be like. So the man says, well, where do I find these diamonds? And the priest says, well, you have to find a stream that goes over white sand, and it's got to be between mountains, and there's where you find the diamonds. Mm-hmm. So the guy goes to bed that night feeling unsettled. Like, even though he had felt happy before, he's now unhappy because he doesn't have these things called diamonds. Now, ladies, we understand this, right? Anyway, so what does he do? He moves his family into a place with friends. He then sells his farm and takes off seeking these diamonds, right? So he goes
like a good plan.
Right. I mean, wouldn't you do it too?
Yeah.
It's like this diamond thing. I could buy a whole bunch of farms. I could buy a whole county. So he goes to the mountains somewhere. He goes to Pakistan. He's not finding any. He goes to Barcelona, Spain. And he's finally at this point completely broke, completely frustrated, and he ends up throwing himself in the ocean and drowning. So very sad end for this guy. Now, meanwhile, the guy who he sold his original farm to was out walking his camel one day, takes his camel to get a sip of water, and lo and behold, there's this little bright, shiny something And he picks up this rock, and it's got like this little sparkle to it. So he thinks it's cool. He goes and he puts it on his mantle. Not too long later, the priest comes back to visit the farm, and he sees the stone on the mantle, and he said, "Oh my God, the diamond's here." So is the original owner of the farm, did he come back? And he said, "No, that's not a diamond. That's just a rock." The priest says, "No, this is a diamond." So they go back and they look in the stream, and it's loaded with diamonds. In fact, that becomes the, what's the name of the diamond mines of Golconda. It actually became known as the biggest diamond mine in history in India. And it was right there where the guy, sold it to go in search of diamonds. So Paul, what did you get from that story?
That's a great story. And I know many times, I've done the same thing. I mean, I get bored with whatever the current circumstance I'm in, and I start to look for other things. So I say, well, I need to move from this because I'm not interested in doing this one thing anymore, or this job, or this particular career, or whatever it is. I've moved many times because I wasn't happy where I was.
You've moved physically.
Yep.
You've moved jobs. Lucky for me, you moved girlfriends. You got bored of them too. So I get to have you. But no, I think it's something that you and I have in common. And I think far too many of us actually have gone through this whole concept of having acres of diamonds. And I want you to be thinking really broad here, because this applies in every aspect of life, right? So starting from a business perspective, when you think about this idea of like, I'm just not fulfilled, or I'm not engaged, or I'm feeling bored, I can tell you that that's something that's happened for me a number of times. And it certainly happened for me when I was younger. But when I practiced law, I was itching to get out and get into another field in law. And then I was itching to get out of that one and get into another practice. And if I had just kept going down that path and never chose to specialize, that would not have been a very successful move, right? You look at those who are most successful, they're experts in their industry among a sea of amateurs, right? So think about that. What does it take to become an expert in something? Well,
it takes a lot of time, it takes effort, it takes the persistence to look for new opportunities within your job. When I listened to this story as well, one of the things that I recognized too, is that we don't, in that story, the person that's the guy who sold his farm didn't even really know what a piece of gold looked like in its kind of natural state.
The
right?
diamond, yeah.
Oh, it was a diamond. I'm sorry, it was a diamond. Yeah, the natural state. So it looks a lot different than how we see them on your ring or in earrings or whatever. They need to be shined up. They need to be cut. They need to be. So there's a metaphor in that as well, is that, we have things right underneath our nose, right underneath our feet in our own careers, in our own business, that we can't see because we're not looking for what it is in the natural state.
And okay, so you make a really good point there. Half the time we don't even know what to look for because we haven't studied our industry enough. And I know for some of you, you're sitting there thinking, no, I'm already really good. I know my industry. But what does your library look like when it comes to your industry? Do you have the 5 most recent, most valuable, most popular books on your industry? And have you been reading them within the last 5 years? So I think what happens a lot of times is we get into a job, we get into an industry, we get good enough, which is totally the enemy of excellence, right? We get just good enough and then we stop learning. So your point is really good. This guy didn't have any idea what a diamond in the rough form looked like. So he literally could have like stumbled right over it and fallen on his face and he wouldn't have known. So he didn't stop to learn about where to find diamonds, how to mine diamonds. He takes information from a Buddhist priest. Is this is that the best information you're going to get for how to become really, really wealthy and successful in diamond mining? Probably not. And there are so many other stories that Russell Conwell gives.
Here's just a kind of fun one for us that we were just talking about. Heather and I know this Acres of Diamonds. We've heard the story for a long, long time. And so when this shows up for us, we always say, oh, it's our Acres of Diamonds. So one thing that we've just recently been doing is going on, when we go on vacation or we're on a work thing, when we're traveling, we are always like, well, where do we want to go next? Like, what's the next vacation? And so
something new, something different, something better.
Yeah, we live in Southwest Florida. It's beautiful here. In the summer, it's hot, but it's still kind of really nice, especially if you go out on a boat. But so we start to take a look at, well, where would we want to go on vacation? And so we start taking a look, and we're trying to figure out where the flights, stop off, and where we're going to have to transfer and all that. And
we make a list of the things that are requirements for us. Has to have tennis courts.
Yeah.
Has to have, transportation has to be easy. Like, we'll make a list of different things that are important. We'd really like to have a beach. We'd like to have a pool. We need a fitness center.
We want like we want
standards.
Kind of a Caribbean type of thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And it always goes back to Twin Waters.
On Captiva Island.
On Captiva Island. So Twin Waters in Florida, it's about an hour away from here. And when we go there, it has everything we need. But we have these ideas of wanting to go, to different parts of the world, different parts, and certainly there's a lot of fun that can be had there as well. But to make it as easy as possible, and it has everything that we need, it's kind of right there. It's our little acre of diamonds for fun. Right?
Yeah. It's really funny because we're trying to plan Paul's 50th birthday, and I was going to take him to Australia or to an all-inclusive somewhere in the Dominican Republic, something it's got to be big, right? And after lots of conversation and after having just done a long weekend at Twin Waters, it checks all the boxes. And he's like, and we could just drive, and then maybe we could have some friends come with us too. And so, that is a perfect example of acres of diamonds. How often do we just keep seeking outside of where we are? So I want to give you an example from our business too, because I think that's really valuable. As I said, I get bored quickly, and I have the itch sometimes, even in this business, with how incredible this business is. There are times where all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? It's time for something new. Let's go buy a business. Let's go buy an existing business, and let's. Well,
you're an attorney as well, so
I want to start a law firm every other day. I still have my law license in Florida, and I'm like, maybe I should dust that off and start up a law firm. So I do this, and Paul's always, oh my gosh, he's so patient with me, because when he sees it coming, he's like, okay, buckle in. We're going to have to hold on for a little while because she's got this wild hair and wants to go do something new. And here's what I've really learned about me. If I were to actually take action every time I wanted to leave this business and go do something new, look, there's nothing bad or wrong with that. If I hadn't left my law firm to go do something new, which is this, we wouldn't have what we have now, which is so amazing. So I am not suggesting that you should never do something new. That's not it. But what I do recognize for me is that if I get into that place where I'm feeling restless, I think restless is the perfect word for me. I feel restless. What it means is that I'm not growing. I don't have a compelling enough goal that's in front of me that requires growth. And that's what makes me feel restless. So if any of you can relate to this restless, not like just the restless syndrome, restless brain syndrome.
Dissatisfaction as well.
Yeah,
There's a bit of dissatisfaction.
Yeah. If you can relate to that, consider
like boredom too. I think boredom has to do with it.
Yeah, because you're not in a growth mode.
Yeah.
You're not working hard to change. Like, you hit a plateau. That's what that means for me. I hit a plateau and I get restless, I get bored, I get frustrated, and I'm like, there's something new, there's something different, there's something better. So the last time this happened, it was really knocking at my door. I mean, I was honestly like ready to take off and do something all brand new. What we did instead is you and I had a strategic session, I think at your calling, because you saw what was happening. And we sat down and we decided that we were going to search for our acres of diamonds. Like, we got really specific about this, and we started looking at the business and all different aspects of the business. This was about 2.5 years ago, I want to say, maybe 3 years ago. And what we recognized is we had a piece of the business that we really hadn't developed in a way that was possible. And that was the assessments that we do. So for those of you in business, if you've ever taken a behavioral assessment like a DISC or maybe your Myers-Briggs or something like that, we had that as a piece of our business that was always something on the sidelines. We used it for training. But what we recognized is, you know what? That's our acres of diamonds. Like, there is a massive opportunity for us to develop and gain an expertise by finding the right kind of assessment that we're not using yet.
Well, and it was because too, we liked assessments. We really loved the results that we were getting with our clients. We really loved the possibility for reoccurring revenue from it.
Yeah.
And kind of a passive revenue.
Great residual revenue.
For a lot of clients that just use them and like to have them and just, and then also they're kind of fun. They're something that we really enjoy doing. So when we were looking at the different business models that we could have, or uncovering some of those acres of diamonds, it was that assessment that we had been doing on and off for a long period of time. It was kind of in the rough form, like the rough diamond shape, right? And we started to uncover it a little bit and play with it a little bit more. We got certified on it, and then it really became a big part of our business.
It became a huge part. Well, and it allowed us to elevate our practice really and truly, because we gained an expertise. We used to just use the DISC, and we still use the DISC, and it is one of our all-time favorite assessments for training. But when Paul says we went back and we got certified in 2 other assessments that complement the DISC that we had never used before because we didn't understand it. We never took the time to slow down long enough to learn about it. So now we have a 3-part assessment that we use that is seriously mind-blowing. Like when we do a debrief with a senior level executive, so that's the other piece. It allowed us to up our game. We're working with the most senior level executives
and that's who we wanted
in global companies.
Yeah.
And they've never seen this assessment before. They've never heard of it before, because most people would never take the time to learn about it and get certified, because it's a very, very difficult instrument to understand as a practitioner. But it comes out in one page. So when I debrief a CEO, a senior leader, and I help them see things about themselves that they've never seen before, I help them find internal conflict that they've never understood before. I help them see blockers in their world that holds them back from success that they've never understood. And in 1 hour's time, I can uncover all of that. So people are blown away, and they then want their next level team to do it, and their next level team to do it. So it's allowed us to attract a more senior level client and go deeper, 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 deeper. And it was right there for us for all these years, but we never saw it because we were too busy working in our business to really understand it.
Yeah, and we were at the Florida Speakers Association, which was your last hurrah for being president for this year.
Yeah.
And you did a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
And we had some really great speakers. We had 2 speakers, and every time we go to a conference or Florida Speakers Association and listen to what other people are doing with their businesses, or really just how they're growing their business, it always gives us ideas, and it makes, for me, I like to go off on that little rabbit trail or rabbit hole and start to think about doing something else as well. Mm-hmm. But then taking the ideas that we learned and really looking at our business first. How could we implement that in our business instead of starting some other type of business?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I gave a couple of examples of how the Florida Speakers Association has helped our business. Now, this is the perfect example of, you were saying earlier about the guy didn't know what a diamond looked like. Yep. And so because he wasn't studying it, so studying your industry, think about this. I don't care what industry you're in. There is no bad industry, but there are too many amateurs in industry who are not making it their business to become experts, whether it's in the industry as a whole or maybe just some aspect of the industry. So speaking is one of the pieces of our business. So we do keynote speeches, we do trainings, and we had done that for almost 10 years before we actually really got engaged in the Speakers Association, which is the industry association for professional speakers, for speakers who get paid to speak, not just speak for fun. Well, in that association, as Paul was saying, we keep hearing about different strategies that speakers are using that are working for them to help them build and grow that practice. So we used a couple of examples just this weekend to share with people the value you get from showing up for meetings like that. Mm-hmm. Like, when this one's so embarrassing. We had Frank Furness speak a couple years ago, and he's just awesome at YouTube, right? He's got more videos and views than you can imagine. And so he came and he talked to us about using YouTube to really promote your business. And by the way, this is not just for speakers. This is for everyone, because YouTube is the #2 search engine next to Google. So he's like, if you're a speaker, you've got to have a YouTube channel. So I look across the room at Paul and I'm like, Paul, do we have a YouTube channel? He's like, I don't know. So I go on my phone and I click on my YouTube and I click around a little bit and I find, yes, we do have a YouTube channel. So I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And then he starts talking about subscribers and you gotta build and get subscribers. And I'm like, oh, do we have subscribers? And I look on my YouTube channel. Yes, I've got 2. And so I'm kind of like, oh, I've already got 2 subscribers and I didn't even know I had a channel. Well, then I look at my 2 subscribers and they're Paul and my dad, because my mom's not on YouTube. So she wasn't even a subscriber. So, okay, pretty weak, right? Then he's like, well, how many videos do you have that really showcase you and tell people who you are and what you stand for? So I'm like, oh, do I have videos posted? Let me see. And I did. I had one video and it was of my cats. So maybe not the best representation of who we are and what we do. But that's just one example of really starting to get our minds around acres of diamonds in terms of marketing. And by the way, free marketing, right? And so what we did that day is we committed to doing at least 1 video per week and putting it up on our channel and really creating some consistency and some depth and helping people understand who we are and what we do. So now we have, I don't know,
like 150
over
videos
150 videos, and we just got over 250 subscribers, which I know is nothing, guys. I'm not bragging on this at all, but it's way more than what we had a couple years ago when Frank showed up. And you've got to start somewhere. And I think that's the other thing that people maybe get a little bit held back by is you look at someone like a Ray Higdon who has, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of followers or however many, and you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. But you know what? You're never going to get there if you don't start and stay persistent and stay consistent. Yeah.
So the 3. So I ask you, who's listening to this, where do you have opportunities? Where are your acres of diamonds in your industry, in your career, in your job that you have right now? Where is it? Have you really sat down and looked at all of the opportunities that may be there that haven't been uncovered, haven't been polished, haven't been really thought about in a way? And this is where the whole creative thinking part of it. So the vast majority of our brain is working 99% of the time in habitual mode. But to put yourself into creative mode takes a lot of energy. And for you to sit down and really think about the opportunities, the acres of diamonds that you actually have in your career, in your job, in your business, wherever that is, there are tons of opportunities. So don't be looking for, and this is the other metaphor, is the greener pastures, right? The grass is always greener on the other side. It's kind of the same thing. It's because they're there. They're there everywhere. And even in our business, there's Speakers Association, we really recognize, and that's one of the reasons that we wanted to do this Acres of Diamonds, because we were talking about that on the way home, is that we have so many opportunities that we just haven't uncovered yet. And so I want you to really consider that there are many, many, many more huge opportunities and things that are available for you in your life and your business.
And they're right there under your nose. You have to just seek, and then you'll find them.
Well, and the other thing too, it's a lot more difficult. If we were to say, oh, you know what, we should go start a law firm because you want to do a law firm now.
We could.
If we stopped this business the way it currently is and had to go and start a law firm up right now, do you know what the learning curve of that would be? It seems like a good idea. It seems like it would be easy because other people are doing it. But the one thing that I think we don't respect is the amount of time and effort that we've already put into our business, and the bumps and bruises and the scars that we have from all the learnings that we've had throughout the years. And it's the same thing for you in your lives and your careers. You've gone through all these experiences, and to switch careers or switch a business or switch a job that's completely different, that means you're starting from scratch again. Sometimes that's a good thing if it's a wrong fit, but you have to check why you are doing it.
Yeah.
You really have to do it. Is it just because you're bored? And if you're just bored, I would highly recommend that you sit down and creatively think and use your imagination on what's possible for your business or your career or your job right now,
because you've gained a level of expertise where you are right now.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
And I think
that's true for us too. And I do think too that a lot of people who are who are coaches and consultants, they see our business and they see where we are now and the kind of clients we're working with and the success we've had. And they are frustrated that they don't have that immediately. What they don't see is they don't see the, what has it been, 13 years that we've been practicing and learning. And like you said, bumps and bruises, holy cow, lots of them. So just know when you do see that person who is, at a level that you really aspire to get to, that was never, no one's an overnight success. I mean, we see people where they are, but we don't see what's behind it. So a couple of thoughts for you. So how you find your acres of diamonds. As Paul said, number one, you got to start looking for it. And even if you're ready to go and do something different and you feel like, okay, I'm ready to make this move, just search first before you sell the farm. You know what I mean? Like take a quick look to make sure you're not
maybe
missing
rent
something.
The farm for a while.
Maybe lease it. But before you give up everything, just do a quick search and just make sure that it's the right move for you. Okay. The second thing that I want to say, and this is something that Brian Tracy has totally drilled into my head, is that when you do decide to become an expert in a certain area, whatever industry you're in, you pick a lane and you decide, you choose to become an expert, read the top 5 books, the best sellers right now in that field, on that industry. If you read the top 5 books, and I'm not just talking about like, listen to them on the side. I'm talking about read them, study them, highlight them, make notes, make your own notes. And I don't want you to just read the text that's in there. I want you to have a notebook next to you. And every time you read a chapter, I want you to write down, what does it make you think? What do you believe about what the author is saying? Because when you start to do your own thinking, you're really developing your own level of expertise. I promise you, by the time you get to book 5, you will absolutely have created your own thought process around that particular area. So it used to take years, maybe even decades to become an expert. Now it takes about the top 5 books and your own thinking, your own intellectual property to really get yourself there. So, if you are feeling anxious or if you're feeling maybe just restless, dissatisfied, look right where you are, because opportunity exists for you right where you are. I hope that this podcast was helpful for you, and I hope that you enjoyed it. If there's someone else who you recognize is in this situation right now, and they're always seeking and they're jumping from job to job, industry to industry, please share this with them and have them take a look for themselves at their own acres of diamonds.
Hey, you can go on the Heather Christie YouTube channel and subscribe. We can always use more. We only have 250.
Yeah.
We'd like to get to 300 by the end of the week.
Could we? That would be good. All right. Great to be with you all today. Have an awesome day.
Bye now.